Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, across the country, around the world. Welcome back to Planet Coaster WestCOT, Bangkok, Thailand. Continuing to work on Bangkok, Thailand, that section of the World Showcase-ish area. Last episode, I revealed that we're going to add as you can see on the screen, on the left, a rapids ride, on the right, a hybrid coaster. It is the steel rails, not just the steel top, but the whole steel railed hybrid coaster. And today we're going to work on the station enclosures, I guess you could say. Kind of the show buildings a little bit for those two rides and how they match up and how they frame up. So here, sliding them into place. And actually, I recorded this bit twice because the game got really squirrely and crashed. The game was kind of misbehaving. Sometimes I think I'm pushing the envelope of what the game can handle. See, like there, it paused for a second. And then other times it seems like it gets over a hurdle and it's fine. Anyway, we're going to work on the quad-ish thing here of the temple, and in large part it's this. There you go, that castle roof piece, or the big chunky stone tile pieces. That's kind of the main floor of the courtyard, and that's going to be a tile and a color that is used extensively throughout this build. It's the floor there. It becomes the roof of most everything else I build today. Yeah, so we got the courtyard. We got the kind of the quad of it, around the outside. And then I decided I wanted paths to go along the inside, and I did not want railings. So I wanted it to be kind of open. Eventually, I'll put in some other pillars and ruins-looking things. Maybe a fountain. I was looking on the Steam Workshop for a Buddha statue. There's not. I swear I saw one, on the workshop highlights, but it's not. I've searched, tried other names, I can't find it. Anyway, at this point, I was looking at some references, and I knew I wanted the inner courtyard to have kind of some pillars and some darker shaded hallways. So that's what I was looking at right here, and some of them do look like kind of a little bit almost like Gothic pillars like that, but a lot of them were round that were Gothic-ish like that. Unfortunately, there aren't any mini parts that are round. All the mini parts are the square ones, so that was kind of annoying. So I was kind of going, what do I do? What do I use? And looking at reference, a lot of them are shorter. They're only the one tile tall. They're not that 8-meter tall thing like that. So I was playing with pillars and concrete. No, I mean it's kind of the right texture-ish, but no. Then I found these. They're fairy tale pieces, and I was like, ooh, and they match kind of the texture and the color. So this pillar that I build over here, this kind of becomes the mainstay pillar for, well, this episode, but for the temple and all that happens within it. It's kind of a recurring theme, that little pillar there, and I like it a lot. It turned out pretty well, I think, and I was able to copy it across, and yeah, it looks good. It looks quite good. I'm quite pleased with it, and I kind of just slide that one over, so none of it lines up exactly correctly square. There's some that are a little closer together than others, but it's not a detail that I'm gonna lose any sleep over. Oh, fail. Yeah, I did that backwards. Select again and just slide them over. But these pillars end up framing in the courtyard there, the quad, and they end up going there and across over there. So once I do it, you'll see I'll put a roof across that, and it cleans up, and it actually looks pretty neat. It looks perhaps a little more I kind of want to say European and Gothic than it maybe should, but again, given the pieces we have, this is what I've got to work with. And there may be some tricks I could do to make it look, I don't know, different, more quote Asian, more Thai. But I don't know what they are. Anyway, I think at this point, yeah, that's when I grab these and boop, plop them up on there. And that's going to be kind of the outer perimeter for all of that. I keep the outer walls behind the pillars there with that red color, but after this, pretty much everything's going to be that gray color. And at this point, I realized, the pillars aren't matching. What do? I don't want to extend the roof, but I found this piece. It's the same, concrete pillar-ish thing, and I use that to, box things in. And also, it hides the brick edges there that I thought was worth hiding. So those plop in there and plop in there. Yeah, so there's kind of the general shape. And it does look a little bit Greco-Roman, I don't know, Greek, Roman-ish, but I think that's because right now it's very squared. Once I eventually, not in this one, but eventually add the roofs to that kind of the facade that covers that, I think it'll look a lot better. So at this point, I'm going to work on the queues and the kind of show buildings for the, as C-Top calls them, the coaster bays, but the stations for the 2 rides, starting with the coaster itself over here. Whoa, come on, be happy. There you go. And unfortunately, I mean, it works out, but the where the building, the actual temple's quote building grid versus the station's quote building grid are slightly offset. They're actually really close. I actually got them a lot closer than I thought I was going to. They're actually just about half a tile off one way or the other. Whoop, there, computer was being slow. Okay, yeah, I had to save and come back. But I jumped through, I think, well, there's the main temple building, and then there's going to be a building that's at the station here, and a building that's at the station on the other side at the roller coaster itself. Just to make things kind of match up for the station, mostly so that the portals around the coaster and the raft ride itself would line up with the coaster track. Otherwise, I'd have to play with it and fight with it. And I do that eventually on the other side with the coaster anyway, because it doesn't really fit the entrance of the building the way it's kind of offset at the exit ramps? No, end ramps. Before you at the station breaks, the block breaks at the end of the coaster. That's what I'm looking for. Words are difficult. Yep, one more. There you go. Okay, yeah. And again, struggling with the paths because it doesn't really work quite like you want it to. It never does. There we go. And now that's not perfect, but it lines up. At this point I realized, like, oh, that's kind of cool in the cave there. And I knew the rapids ride itself was going to be in the cave. So I figured, all right, let's build this as if the temple kind of extends into the cave and the underground, the underside of this little mountain here. So we kind of start wrapping it up, start enclosing it a bit to kind of give it an idea, or to give me an idea, to give us an idea. And then we enclose the queue and the station in a building, and it kind of mates with the stone. And I think it looks pretty swell when it's done. Wow, did I just say swell? I think it looks pretty good when it's done. I'm pleased with how it turned out. It was a headache to kind of build some of the things around there, and I should have built more before I wrapped the ground up to it. But it worked out fairly well. And like I said, from this point, we go with the darker, there we go, darker walls, kind of more, I don't know, subterranean-ish. Boop. Yeah. And let's see, what do we do? What was I looking for? Oh, yeah, these things. See, so that didn't quite line up correctly, but boop, there you go. So I actually didn't go off of the station grid really at all. I guess I kept this one on its own grid, on the same building grid as the building. But there you go. See the pillars are again making their presence felt. Yeah, I guess it stayed as its own, as the same old grid. I guess nothing ended up being on the grid. Oh, that's the only part. This roof work here ended up being on that grid, and that's okay. It works out. Why, I'm not entirely sure I did it that way, but I did. But it functions just fine. Yeah, again, I'm not really sure why I did that. I think just to line it up with the station, to cover the station correctly. I could have done it the other way and covered it a little more, not aggressively, maybe generously with the other pieces, but oh well. And that corner, I'm not really happy with how it's the gray walls, and then, oop, there's 2 red walls. Sorry. I really wish I could have, I don't know, gotten around that, but I didn't. I don't. It is the way it is. Yeah, once we get down into this little area down here, it gets really awkward to do things, and this path doesn't line up nicely with the walls, so I kind of had to just improvise, and the walls do kind of stick into it just a little bit there, as you could see. But hopefully too many guests won't be clipping through it, or if they do, not something I'm going to see. That's something that I'm not a fan of is the clipping. When people build, they build shops and stores and they build things on the path. It looks cool, but the guests walk through it, and that's something that I personally can't stand. But you won't be able to see it here, and they don't clip that much in. They might just be it'll look like they're just like they're leaning against the wall. Like I know I do whenever I'm on any number of rides. Yeah, and that's the majority of that. I think we close in that. I was trying to look at it from all angles, make sure I had as much covered as I could. But here was where we start to close it in. And unfortunately, I wish the stonework would go into the scenery. I mean, you can build scenery into the stonework, but into the terrain, but you can't build the terrain into the scenery. And here I was looking at the options, like, come on, no intersection. Let it intersect. But no, it's not happy. It's not letting me do it. So we end up wrapping it around as much as we can. And then later on we go on and we close up those gaps with a few more wall pieces just to make sure that everything is nicely hidden away. And hopefully if I do this right, even this bit of hill here will be hidden behind the facade of the temple and all the bits of the temple. Hopefully. I haven't gotten that far. Still got to figure that part out. That'll be for the next episode or beyond. Yeah, this one we really just get the two stations ironed out, and then next episode I'm gonna work on the actual ride paths. That's not the right use of that word, but the path that the ride takes, the track layout. The layout. Yeah, wow. Words are failing me today, like most every other days. So there we go. We're getting this mostly enclosed. There it is. And then it's not horrible, and I think we chisel it down a little bit to kind of flatten it out, just to make it not as aggressively bulbous and bumpy and noticeable. Hopefully the sight lines of it kind of fades away, and it's not too terribly in your face. But here we go, just kind of closing up, the gaps so that you can't see daylight from inside. Like I said, this is kind of as if the temple were built into the surrounding cave systems, which I think makes sense. Yeah, good, no daylight there. Oh, daylight there. Oh no. So we end up doing, blocking that off with some more walls, and that works out just fine. We can square that off with the facade of the building. I think the facade of the building will probably match up into that stonework anyway. Just walking test to make sure that you can't really see outside. Nope, until you get there. The only other thing was that at this point, looking backward, there you can see the ride itself, and I don't want to be able to see the ride yet. I want that to remain kind of hidden. So we end up putting up some walls here, and boop, and it kept wanting to go like way off in the distance. One of those things with working underground, it doesn't always go where you think it's going to go. There it is. So now that's closed. And yeah, still those couple of red walls just kind of don't really match with anything else. So that's the Rapids Rides area all wrapped up, at least for the time being. Next we go to the coaster, and I wanted to already incorporate, much like how I did at the Rapids Ride where you see the last turn coming out of there, I wanted to incorporate the brake run and the end of the coaster over here and incorporate that either in the building or at least nearby to kind of get an idea of what I need to work around. At first that looked cool, but it was a little too close. So now it comes, there we go. Nope, and level, boop, there we go. And then block brakes and nothing else. Yeah, so we got block brakes there. And I eventually do build this coaster up just to one little lift hill, boop, little drop down and then into the brakes. Just because there I'm kind of going, it's going to go over here. Just because as I was building, I wanted to see how the coaster was going to interact with the queue that goes right next to it there. And I'm glad I did because it ended up looking kind of funny. Here, yeah, as you can see, that wall ends up intersecting with the station a lot. So that's something I had to be very mindful of with this build, was keeping the using the two different buildings. Yeah, because there it's all okay. That path, that wall kind of intersects there, but we have, like I said, we have a separate building in terms of the game building that is centered on the station's grid, and then there's this one that's on the temple's grid. And there, like I said, it worked out better than I thought it would. It's only about a half a tile off, so it's not bad at all. Yeah, but it just, the way the paths are not like a tile width, I guess I didn't do that quote correctly. They're close enough. Yeah, so there's the building grid that is, well, it's the station's building grid, and it comes really close to matching up with the temple's grid, but it's not quite there, but it's okay. So there's a lot of jumping back and forth, and I was trying to duplicate that and split it and make it its own, but then they're three separate things. They're not a saved thing together. It's kind of annoying. It didn't, oh, that's weird. It didn't want to like be selected as part of the building. Yeah, I don't know. So I said, screw it. We'll make it part of the other building, or it's part of the temple building. But again, same type of theme where we have the pillars up at the front here. Unfortunately, they work when I place them there, but then they aren't happy. It's going red because of the curve. I have to move those ones up at the beginning of the coaster because the lift hill wasn't happy. And then, yeah, we kind of put these in here. These end up getting changed around a bit. Yes, again, I know they kind of clip through the queue, but again, not a big deal. That's a real thing you see in real rides. Like Indiana Jones has all kinds of pillars. But unfortunately, this is something that the guests will be clipping through because they're going to stand in line right next to it. Wah. And then, yeah, I can't see that. I went back and forth between different grids so many times. I got confused with which was which, because they come pretty close to lining up. Like the station grid just barely sticks through that back wall, but it ends up being okay. It ends up looking fine. Let's see what's next. What are we doing? Oh yeah, the roofing now. Just making sure that the station has a roof over it, because I figured that was just about done, so I could probably wrap that up and kind of figure out what that does afterwards. And I wanted something here, maybe, no, I guess not. Yeah, I would have cut into the queue. Again, see, the queue wasn't quite lined up quite the way I wanted it, so it didn't end up being quite correct. Yeah, so here's where I was like, oh no, just eyeballing it, looking at it like that, it looks like it could be far enough away to not be a hazard, but I was like, I need to ride it first, so I had to complete the ride, and here's where those pillars got in the way, because otherwise it wouldn't let me. It kept saying obstructed, and I wish it would tell me what was obstructing it. Like, highlight the things in red that are being an obstruction, please. But I guess the game's not smart enough to do that. So I just said, okay, we'll get rid of it and do it again later. There we go. There's a lift hill. And at first I build this, and the lift hill is only up that first straight part, not that curved part. So it, like this, the one at the back set of brakes scoots on forward while the other one goes up the lift hill. But the one on the lift hill only goes up to there and then falls back. So I stopped it. And then we rebuilt it. Yeah. So up. There we go. Down to there. And then, oh no, auto tunnel down. And unfortunately, it won't auto-complete when it's through a tunnel. It won't auto-complete tunnel. Or it won't auto-tunnel, auto-complete. But we get it to auto-complete here. Really stupid ride that doesn't do anything, doesn't get exciting, doesn't do anything. I could probably turn around and get guests to ride it though, but not something I want to do at this point. But I kind of like the looks of it. I like the color even. So here's what I was looking at. See, it's like, okay, looking at it like in this perspective, it looks okay. I can live with that. I added the catwalks just to kind of give myself another frame of reference. I'm like, okay, I can live with that, I think. Then I said, you know what, just for funsies, let's ride it and see what it looks like. So we go up the lift hill, down the little thing, through the mini cave, and when we get here, it's just like, oh god, that felt like I could reach out my hand just outside of the car and brush along the stonework of the thing. And that would not be something that would pass anywhere. That would be way too close. Yeah, Dosh or Kalosha, Dosh would have a field day with that. But I realized, oh wait, split the grid. Offset it by whatever the half meter or the 3.5 feet or whatever it is. And that worked out. And then at that point, it was just nicely clear of the coaster, and it actually lined up pretty well with the edge of the queue as well. So here, nope. Yeah, see, that's decent. It's sticking a little bit into the control console there, but that's a reality that ride operators have to deal with too. It's just slowly enclosing everything. Yeah. Like I said, the grid, the two grids between the temple grid and the kind of show build, the station grid, are just slightly off horizontally, but vertically they're just about a spot on match. So that was kind of cool to see that. Yeah. So enclosing the rest of the show building, just kind of figuring out, okay, the coaster's here, so it comes kind of high. So we need the taller show building for this part. Boop, boop, boop. And here's where it got interesting / frustrating again, because the coaster is not like centered on the building. It's not anything, but that's about where it's going to be. And I can't really do much to change it there. I don't really think I want to much either. I think I'll add some friction brakes maybe, but I had to get creative and make my own kind of coaster entrance portal. I suppose I could put coaster doors there, but there's none that are really themed all that well to this. So I thought, okay, let's use our mainstay of these pillars, get it as close as we can, and as close as we can on that side. I'm like, okay, but then there's still that big gap there. So I can't put a full-on wall piece there, but what can I do? And I realized, oh, you know what? I'll just use more of the pillar pieces that are the 4-meter height and just fill in the space here. And that ends up closing in the wall. It doesn't look all that pretty, but it does the job. We're going to be using that same trick at the end, or toward the end of this video, but at the beginning of the coaster. Yeah, like I said, these walls here lined up nicely with the side of the ride itself, or the queue itself. Except after I did that, I realized, wait a minute, I don't want these. I don't want them there because I want to be able to see the coaster go past the queue there. I don't know when I realize it. Is it now? No, it's now. There we go. Yeah. Delete, 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 because I want those to be visible. So I figured, all right, let's take and move all the pillars over. Oh, I do that eventually. And here's one part, like I said, it's kind of, the grid's pretty half split, so there it's sticking out. But I think I'd rather have it sticking out than clipping. And here I take all these pillars, copy, and put them on the other side, and that holds up that thing. It ends up looking almost a little, like this section looks almost a little Egyptian. Just a little bit. It's just blocky enough, just dark enough in the stonework. But it's okay. I'm happy with it. I'm going to live with it. It's just fine. Yes. Yes, indeed. Boop, boop, boop. So that part of the queue is covered. You want everything, or I want everything to be enclosed, so there's no stray sunlight leaking through anywhere. I want it to be a little dark. And I don't do it here in this episode of this recording, but I will go through eventually and add lanterns and lights and torches and fire pits and things like that to make it look more, I don't know what, ruinous, more temple-y, temple runish. Yeah. But again, pieces are going to stick out the side. But that's not a big deal. Oh, so here, I knew those 3 pillars on the left looked kind of stupid, just kind of floating there. They looked very unsupported. So I decided to stretch them. So I think, yeah, I used the 4-meter piece. So I grabbed the 3 like base pieces and then just put on 3 of those guys. Ba-doop, ba-doop. There we go. So now the pillars hold everything up correctly. I think that's pretty close to the end for the queue and the end of the coaster. I think we finish off with the beginning of the coaster. Oh yeah, I didn't like how those hung over there. Instead, we do it off of there, off of that one. So it hangs over on the inside, which is much easier to hide much easier to reconcile. Yep, just stretching the wall up one more time. And here again was kind of where, like, wait, do I use that wall? Do I use it on this one? Which grid do I go on? So I kind of switch back and forth between the two grids. Plus, if I'd used the other grid, it wouldn't have lined up nicely on that corner. It would have been, I mean, you'll see, it'll be the half grid offset. So I end up using that wall, and those two are just about made it up butt to butt with each other. So it hides the gap just fine. Yeah, a little extra, a little wasteful, but it's okay. So that's most of the show building. The last bit is this entrance here. And so I have to apply kind of the same trick you see on the left with the custom portal, the pillars, and things like that. I try to do as few pieces as possible. Not that it works out as amazingly as it could, but can I drag that over? No, yeah. For some reason, the lift requires more space. I went to put it here. I was like, wait, I don't know how tall I need to make it. But fortunately, the 2-meter piece fits there, and then you can copy this guy, and it fits just fine height-wise. It is 4 meters. Boop. And then copy it across, and then we do the same trick here. 4 meter. There we go. Same trick here, and I could go back and look at it. I'm not entirely sure. I bet those are all on. No. No, they're not on the same plane. Dang it. If they were on the same plane, I would have stretched it all the way across. It was a matching look, but it's not. They don't. I can't. I won't. Pity. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. There we go. Just closing in the kind of initial lift hill room? Lift hill space? Lift hill corridor? I'm not sure what to call it. So the plan with these two rides, the coaster is going to be more outdoors and exposed. Oh, I think my wife was texting me, so I was pausing at a moment here. It's almost done, though. The plan with these two rides, the coaster will be much more exposed. It'll go through some tunnels and whatnot. But the Rapids ride, I think my plan is to make that a lot of in the caves. Like it's supposed to be almost like as if it's a subterranean river. That's kind of what I'm going with over there. And then you'll see it pop out in a little valley of the river somewhere else. And you'll see the coaster like doing a barrel roll, probably like right over the path of the Rapids ride. Kind of looking forward to that. And I did just watch Silverette's, what was it, his Planet Coaster College video for hybrid coasters. And I took some notes about all the track elements I should be using for correct stuff. But he's got good notes. He's got good solid ideas and techniques for rides. So I will admit I'll be doing a lot of the things that he calls out in his video. All right, just checking the cruise through of the coaster itself. Oh yeah, I gotta finish this room. But that goes pretty quickly. Just move those two down. Roof it up. Boop, boop, boop. And that's just about the show building wrapped up. I think we continue that across there and then wall that in there. Yeah, yep. And that's going to be the end of that show building. And I think that'll be just about the end of this episode as well. Yeah, the only thing that's left is a quick little fly through of the queue there for the coaster, for the station and the show building there. That's going to be it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. If you like, hit subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, pass the word. I will catch you later.